Messages of support for Biden have been pouring in from across the globe. Today, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that the United States is Britain's closest and most important ally, and expressed confidence that Britain could achieve much on everything from trade to climate change with the president-elect. Our correspondent in the United Kingdom, John Beaver, joins us now. Thank you very much for being with us, and hello to you from the UK. Now, John, how is London reacting to Joe Biden's win of the US presidential elections? On a side note, I must just say I'm quite surprised at Boris Johnson's reaction at the news. It seemed he had somewhat of a warm relationship with Trump after congratulating Biden. I'm confused.
Well, yeah, it's worth remembering, of course, that the two have actually never met. Joe Biden and Boris Johnson have never physically, as far as we know, been face to face. Now, there is seemingly no love lost between the two men. And like you say, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister here, close to Donald Trump, and very much built that relationship to continue this so-called special relationship between the UK and the US. Not that long ago, though, Joe Biden described Boris Johnson as a physical and emotional clone of Donald Trump. So it sounds like maybe there is a lot of work to do on repairing that personal relationship. Joe Biden, of course, didn't support Brexit, which Boris Johnson, a big fan of, and is currently in the process of getting that done, as he says, at the moment. Joe Biden, as well, has been critical when he was on the campaign trail. He, of course, is Irish-American in his roots. He was critical that the Brexit process might damage the Good Friday Agreement. That is the agreement that brought to an end the majority of the hostilities in Northern Ireland. He says he's concerned that Brexit might impact that. He said he doesn't want to see any damage to that agreement. So there are lots of things that the two are going to have to work closely together on, and Boris Johnson might need to actually put some time in to try and persuade Joe Biden that he is a friend and he is an ally, as he said in that Twitter message.
Well, John, Joe Biden's victory is a critical blow against nationalist populism, or what some call right-wing populism. There is a view that America's choice of president can set or confirm global ideological trends, but we saw after the shooting of George Floyd, the killing of George Floyd, that even with Trump still in office, people in London did protest in huge numbers. Is this an indication of the fact that the choice of president in the US doesn't necessarily affect really what happens in the UK, what people in the UK really think?
Well, I think the UK very much need the US more than the other way around. The UK is seeking to forge its own path. It doesn't have that close relationship in Europe anymore. It is looking for trade deals around the world. It sees the US as a very important partner, both strategically and in terms of defence, but also in terms of trade. So there is that very important role that the new president will play, because, of course, if Joe Biden decided that he wanted to have a very favourable relationship with the UK, then you would think that things would start getting moving that much quicker when it comes to trade deals. Of course, they are already being worked upon at the moment with the Trump administration as well. But in terms of day-to-day life, no, of course. If you are here in the UK, the fact that Joe Biden has won probably hasn't had an immediate impact on you. What is worth noting here, though, is that Donald Trump was deeply unpopular. So I don't think that many people will be sad to see the back of the Trump presidency. A recent YouGov poll conducted here found that of about 75% of people questioned said that they had an unfavourable opinion of Donald Trump. So I think really here you're going to see people happy that there is this new chapter in America, and the political leaders here will be hoping to build on that new chapter to reinforce the friendship and to say that although they might be different ideologically, that they can very much work together for the benefit of both nations.
The dislike of Trump, I mean, I do remember this sort of blow-up doll of Trump in the middle of London, if I remember correctly, and really people kind of showing their dislike of Trump. What is that dislike sort of based on? And does that dislike then mean necessarily a like for Joe Biden? I might think so, because in the UK there is a sense that leaders should be quite diplomatic, and we've seen over the years that Joe Biden is somewhat that kind of a leader. Is very diplomatic in the way that he says things. He's quite calm, and we've seen quite the opposite from Trump, where he kind of just says what's on his mind, what he wants to say, whether it upsets people or not. So I wonder if that like is kind of based on that, or is there something perhaps deeper coming from the UK of the dislike towards Trump?
Well, I was in London last year when that big anti-Trump demo was taking place, the large blow-up doll, as you said, of Donald Trump that was being flown at Trafalgar Square. There is no love lost for President Trump among many people here. Of course, the UK government at the moment is very much right of centre, and the new Biden administration is left of centre. So, of course, you have got some people here who very much support the idea of Donald Trump and the idea of what he was working towards, but a lot of people didn't like what he, the man himself, the way he portrayed himself, the fact that he would, get himself into deeply controversial, issuing deeply controversial statements on Twitter, things like that, generally speaking in the UK were not received well at all. Of course, there are exceptions, and I think you found that a lot of people were putting up with that to try and work with the Trump administration. But yeah, I think people here, they very much had a favourable opinion of President Obama. They see the new president coming in as being part of that group from 4 years ago, so they are hoping that it's going to continue in the same vein. So there's going to be a lot of work to try and bridge the gaps between them, but I think a lot of people here are hopeful that a Biden presidency is going to deliver a good relationship without the deeply unpopular president at the helm, which we've seen for the last 4 years.
Well, John, you've told me about Boris Johnson's reaction, and we've kind of spoken about what he had to say, just out of interest and really just because I am quite nosy. Anything from the Royal House? Have we heard anything from them at this time?
Well, today it's been all eyes on Remembrance Sunday here. So we saw the Queen laying wreaths to remember people who died in the wars over the years. Yeah. Very much the royal household has been concentrating on that. And generally speaking, people have been avoiding making any form of comment on the election result. We heard Dominic Raab, a senior UK politician. He was talking this morning on television and was saying that very much they were trying not to be seen as influencing the campaign or influencing anything when the actual voting was taking place and whilst the counting was taking place. So a lot of people have been very quiet. Privately, at the time that Donald Trump and the Queen met, there was some murmurings that the Queen perhaps did not like his style, did not like the man himself. But of course, it is very difficult to get anything official from the royal household. It's a very closely guarded place both in terms of physical security and, of course, what people might actually think on the inside. They're very much trying to represent Britain abroad. So they really need to be diplomatic in making sure that they stay friends with all in the United States and everywhere, no matter what they might think of them personally.
John Beaver, an absolute pleasure catching up with you. Thank you very much for your contribution to the show and letting us know what's happening there in London. We appreciate it. Right, that's our correspondent there in London, John Beaver, giving us a really holistic look of what's happening there in London in terms of reaction to the US election.